What is accent reduction? Well, the standard answer to that question is that it's different things. It involves helping people to learn English with the way they change the tone of voice while speaking, and the rhythm of speech, which is true. Even so, those things mean nothing if people can't understand you. In my experience, a lot more time has been spent on improving the students' pronunciation of words. Different people have different needs. A student of mine who's a doctor told me that everything he says at the hospital where he works has to be understood. Maybe your need to be understood is not that great, but whenever you have to repeat yourself because you aren't understood correctly, that limits your potential for advancement in the English-speaking world. The U.S. has always been a nation of immigrants, and its people are quite used to hearing foreign accents. I've known many people who have come to this country having learned English as a second language, and most of them don't feel the need for accent reduction. Americans don't expect immigrants to speak like people born in the U.S., but if you have trouble being understood and trouble understanding people, that's a problem. As I said, accent reduction is a matter of pronunciation and other aspects of speech. We call these prosody. Again, pronunciation is very important. I'll give you some details about how I work on pronunciation, making use of my experience as a speech therapist. This is not exactly a step-by-step procedure, although the process generally begins with the first thing on this list and ends with the last one. First, assessment of speech skills, and this is free of charge. We can discuss how you did, which includes, of course, your overall pronunciation of speech sounds and your pronunciation of very important speech sounds, such as the most commonly heard vowels. The assessment includes my rating of how easy it is to understand your speech. I'll explain how I would go about helping you with your accent, and you might have ideas of your own. Or you might decide that my accent reduction is not for you. If so, you don't owe me anything. As I said, my assessment is free of charge. Recognition and pronunciation of speech sounds. Listening carefully to the sounds of speech and knowing the difference between similar sounds is good for accent reduction and, just as important, good for learning to understand other English speakers. You may have found that some English speakers in particular are very hard to understand. Unfortunately, some of us are careless with the way we speak. Practice for consistent use of a skill. You can practice the skills you learn with me on Skype by listening to my sound recordings on YouTube. With YouTube, there's no need for downloads or email attachments. It's great security. Use of speech skills in words, sentences, and connected sentences. Some speech sounds, like the TH sound in the word think, don't exist in many languages, so teaching them may begin with basic things like learning where the tongue goes to make the sound. When the student knows how to make the sound in words and sentences, the next step is practice with exercises for connected sentences, reading paragraphs out loud, for example. Structured conversation with a teacher and other people. With conversation, it's best to put the newly acquired skills to use in friendly settings. When you're ready, I can give you advice on how to practice English conversation free of charge with your fellow students.